Hello everyone, today I'm working on this lifelike GP38-2 shell. I've been taking parts from this actually, the handrails. I used them for another engine. I used the horn for another engine. And I've got a couple more of these that I use for parts. So this one, I can practice painting on it. That's a good thing to do, you know, keep your skills up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the windows out of this. So these should come out pretty easy. They should just slide out here. I'm taking my time because I don't want to damage the part. But I think these will come out pretty easy. So basically you just got to wiggle them over the tab. And eventually the shell will release it. So it's not too hard to remove the shell. Just want to be careful just to keep it nice looking. So I take my time. So you could strip it down, which I'm not going to. I'm just going to paint right over this. It's good to practice because you pick up tips and you remember your old tips. So basically what I do, I use any old piece of cardboard that's lying around and I cut it to the length of the engine. What that does is it gives me a support. I'll put usually just a couple of pieces of Scotch tape and it gives me a good support. So I can just stick that in there. And that will support my shell very well. I'll clip this in my helping hands. And that will support my engine very well. So it doesn't have a tendency to wobble or fall. So it doesn't matter what I do, I won't be dropping my engine to the floor. My helping hands, you can buy one professionally made. I just use a little bit of, you know, steel wire and some alligator clips that I picked up with an old vise. So that served me very well for years. You should have maybe a clean work area. My work area is not that good because I do a lot of projects, many projects at the same time. So I'm using this Rust-Oleum interior paint, Rebel can of course. And when you want to paint, you want to go with very small coats. You start out with droplets, like that, just droplets, and make sure you do a little bit under it too. I promise you, you won't regret going under the engine. So you start out with just droplets. It's better to do 2 thin coats than 1 thick coat. Even better to do 3 thin coats if you need to. So I start out with just droplets, and as I go, I'll be connecting the droplets together. Now as the droplets collect together, they will make a very shiny coat. So that's all you want. You want to see it turn shiny. So you're watching for a reflection, and as it turns shiny, then you stop. And you will find the paint will just even out as it dries. So you want to leave it like that. just the minimum so the paint gets shiny. And then that's it, you stop. I'm gonna leave it like that for about 10 minutes. So I left it to dry 25 minutes actually, but I'm actually very satisfied with that. That is gonna look good. And it's actually better for you if you do just one coat, so it'll preserve the detail, preserves much more of the detail than doing multiple coats. So that's going to be good enough for that. To be sure, that's going to work for me. So I'm going to leave this to dry for a couple of days. So looks like one coat was enough. I gave it a couple of days to dry. I'm really satisfied with that, with the way it came out. So now I'm ready for some decals. This is a good time to do decals, 2 to 3 days after you paint. The paint is still dry to the touch, but it still has some thinner in it, so that will help the decals adhere and become part of the paint. I like to use micro scale decals. I find they do a very good job, and they're easy to use. I have my decals all cut up, so now I'm ready to bring some water. Get yourself also a picture of the prototype, that way you have a correct decal placement. You don't need too much water. I like to do one side at a time. So I'll just wet the one side there. All you need is a couple of drops. And scale is very small. So that's what happens. You save on materials and water. So while the decals are absorbing the water, I'm going to put my windows back on, so that they should just ease into place. Shouldn't be too hard, although I'm going to take my time, because I want this engine to look good. There's two tabs that hold the windows in place. So now my windows are set. And I like to use toothpicks to move the decals around. Maybe you need just a little bit of water to help them out. So obviously, N scale, you need to develop patience. That's just the way it is. Everything's so small. So I'm going to move that into place. And then when I'm happy with it, I'm going to dry it with a little Kleenex. So that will just remove the excess water. And then you let that dry for a little bit. Wow, a little bit of decal really does change everything. Now it looks awesome. I'm gonna pop in the drive from my PNLE GP38 I did a couple of weeks ago. So now we're ready to go. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.